Welcome back to the Standing Room Only podcast. This is episode 65. Before we get into the episode, make sure you download it if you enjoy the episode. It's the best way to show support. It's pretty much the only way we can track our stats. I don't know. We're still noobs at this whole situation or with this whole thing. So downloads the only way we can track at the moment. So make sure to do that. You can also follow us on our social media pages. SR Only Pod for Instagram and Twitter. Our personal pages. Goose is iGoose with 4 O's. I am at the Healy6. Topics for today. We're going to be going over the Fernando Tatis deal, the mega deal. Is it too much for the 22-year-old? Is it too early? We're going to discuss. We got the NFL, Carson Wentz being traded to the Indianapolis Colts. NBA, got the all-star votes, or like they're all finalized. The rosters are in, including in a new addition today due to an injury. We're going to talk about the Nets, Lakers, and Wizards. And we're going to briefly talk about Tiger Woods. So, big episode for today. Apologize for not having one last week. We're back in full force. Spring training started this week. Guys reported to camps. It's so exciting to see just videos and footage of guys hitting BP, throwing bullpens. I don't know about you, but baseball season's right around the corner. Games start this Sunday. As always, MLB is terrible at allowing you to watch games. They like blocking a lot of stuff. So you can find a way to watch the game. Go do it. I'm definitely making sure I find a way to do so because, man, I get that the main guys are only going to take 1 or 2 ABs, but I just need some sort of baseball in my life.
Yeah. I mean, aside from what we'll see on the actual sports teams, the professional team, whatever they upload on Instagram, I'm excited. I'm very excited. I follow a lot of athletes, and of course, lo and behold, what do I always see when I launch social media? It's always an upload from one of these athletes. And this week, we have, I've been following Hendricks with the Sox. Some of these other players, and I'm getting excited, not just as a Sox fan, but just the fact that baseball is back, or we should have a full season. And it's right around the corner. We are literally about 4 weeks away, just over 4 weeks away, I believe, from the start of the season. And I'm excited, man. I don't know. There's always a way. If there's a will, there's a way to watch some games. As you mentioned, obviously, spring training to the MLB is not a big deal outside of the organizations themselves. But 1 or 2 at bats makes a difference. I mean, I for me and my White Sox and what we're hoping for this year, I'm eager to see what they bring to the table.
Yes, and the Padres, they started off spring training with a bang. They gave Fernando Tatis the 3rd highest MLB contract in history. 14 years, $340 million. That is so much money for a 22-year-old star, up-and-coming star, a guy who's played only 153 games in his career. He's played 2 years, hasn't even had like a full season of games, but the Padres, they just have a feeling they know what this guy can do, and they decided to give him a contract. Is it too early? I think so. I think he's definitely going to be worth it. Average of $24 million per year. It's just, I'm just a little confused on why now when they didn't have to.
Yeah, they have how many more years of control did they have on him? Wasn't it 3 more years or 4 more years? Or
Yeah, they had 4.
Yeah. So, and I know when you texted me about it, I immediately was like, "Oh, great! They made it's a big move. That's a huge move for somebody who, I mean, I would bet on to be great for the next I don't know how many years. He's super young." But then I immediately followed that up, and I was like, "Wait, is this premature? Because they still have control, and who knows what could happen? Obviously, he has a high ceiling. His talent is there, but what happens now if he falls off and he underperforms?"
Or he gets
Obviously,
hurt.
Or he gets hurt, yeah, which obviously we see happen a lot. More times than not, though, it's going to take more than an ACL tear for a guy to come back and not be the same. I think he'll be good. I think it's a great investment for them, especially with the breakdown of the contract. They're not. It's more heavy loaded on the back end versus the front end, which is good. So I know we were going over that before going live here, and it makes sense. It makes sense. It's almost structured like a team friendly contract where it's a little bit cheaper up front, and it allows them to kind of spend that money elsewhere to have that win now mindset, which obviously that's where they're at right now.
Yeah, and they matched it up with Manny Machado. We all know Machado got like 300 million over 10 years. A lot of money, but it's completely flipped. Tatis is getting $1 million this year, $5 million next year, $7 million the year after, $11 million after that. So over the next 4 years, Fernando Tatis is going to be making $24 million. That is so cheap. It's just the risk comes in afterwards. Baseball, guaranteed contracts. Football, you can cut a guy after a certain point and they aren't owed that money anymore. NBA, maybe I think that like you could probably cut someone the same way and their contract's just done after that year point. But baseball, he is guaranteed 340 million no matter what. He's gone from baseball in 3 seasons. He's getting paid all that money for years to come. So he's becoming the face of baseball. He's on the cover of MLB The Show. He's doing everything right. It's just a little premature in my eyes, but at the same time, due to the structure, it's not like they're paying him 50 million right now. And he's electric. It's just a little like you want the security just in case something freak happens. We've seen amazing guys get bad before and just stuff happening, but Tatis seems like he's amazing on and off the field. He's up for this.
Yeah. I was thinking it's on both ends. It's kind of premature. For the Padres, I think they win. They win. You get them for on average 24 million a year. Obviously, there's this the structure of it's different. It's backloaded, so there's more money later on. But I mean, think about where we're at now with contracts. Who knows in 6 or 7 years if 340 is going to be the highest contract?
No, it's not.
You know what I mean? So in a way, they kind of got him for a steal, assuming he's going to be good. And for him, they're like, it's a win-win situation. We guarantee you this money. We won't wait the 3 years or 4 years, whatever, the 3 or 4 years. So even if you get hurt, we want you there. It's a win-win situation. Any way you look at it, it's the Padres saying, we value you high, like super high, as high as obviously Machado, who is someone who's got another $300 million contract a couple years back. And they're basically telling him, we're going to go all in for you. In the long haul, you may not make as much as some of these other guys, but you got a lifelong contract with us. And I think that's a good deal. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, and 340 million, way more than enough a person needs in their lifetime.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a whole nother topic. I guess I was just comparing to like, Pat Mahomes just got his air quote $500 million deal, and baseball obviously is starting to get a little bit better, more.
Trevor Bauer just got paid 45 for this upcoming season, the most ever in an MLB season. So, and also like, let's say the relationship gets a little bad over like gets a little rocky, and his 6th season, he's like, I just don't know. I'm going to test free agency. And then a team could kind of scoop him up and get him a better deal. And he's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to get away from the Padres instead of working out the relationship. He does have a no trade clause throughout his whole contract. So that's good. But let's say the Padres do end up getting bad at some point. They're not built to get bad, but hypothetical. They do end up getting to a bad point, and it's like he's a good player on a bad team, but he's still like so good. It's kind of like Arenado. They could just trade him. So he's technically a Padre for life at the moment, but who knows? He could always get traded at some point. It could be like A-Rod or whatever. Like I said, Nolan Arenado.
Yeah, it's surprising to see these guys with these contracts get traded later on in their careers, but it does happen. Who knows? Maybe the Padres do, like you said, become that team where they just don't contend anymore and they have to maybe do a rebuild, or they need, whatever it may be. And you know what? Let's trade them to a ready now team. And they want to eat that contract. We know there's a franchise that does that a lot, aka the New York Yankees. So who knows? You never know. But I think overall it's a good deal. It's huge. It could be the start of a new trend. It could be the start of a new trend. We start seeing these guys who are under control. Obviously, we've seen it with Chris Bryant and other players where they're like, dude, give me a contract already. Why are you making me wait the full 4 years? And then obviously he had to wait an extra year because of when he started. So there's this whole fiasco, and I think it's good for baseball. It's good for baseball.
Yep. And the Padres, they've kind of gone against the norm the past few seasons. Normally guys get 6 years of service time before they can become a free agent, and teams also, if you don't call up someone for the first 15 days of the season, 15, it's not a lot, but if you call someone up 15 days into the season, you get an extra year of them on your team. That's what's happening with Chris Bryant right now.
Yeah.
And the Padres, along with the Mets with Pete Alonso, but the Padres, they're like, we aren't going to do that. Why wouldn't we just have him on opening day? Like, we'll take it. And again, they're paying a guy early. We've seen contracts with Acuna. He got 10 years, $100 million. We saw Eloy Jimenez. He got a lot of money too. We've seen other young guys starting to get paid. I like seeing it. Baseball, it's still kind of in that weird point where they just give long-term deals. I wonder if we're going to see a point where it's kind of like we go towards the NBA style, where it's like 4-year deals or like the max or something like that. But yeah, that's what's happened with the Padres. In other news with baseball, someone that doesn't like calling up their stars right away, Kevin Matthew, who worked with the Seattle Mariners, he got fired this week. He was caught saying some stuff on video, some stuff that like we all feel, but in his position, you shouldn't just be saying out loud. He was basically saying how he's going to keep guys down on purpose because of their service time. He was bashing players. He was calling some guys boring, and players got disrespected from that. Like Julio Rodriguez, a big one. He posted the Michael Jordan meme with his face on it, and I took that personally. Jared Kelenic, he got offered a deal, I believe, but he didn't take it at the time. They wanted to give him a 6-year deal or something. He was mad, like he wasn't going to be on the team. He also said in a press conference today, he's like, this team hasn't done anything in 20 years. Why not call up your best guys? Since they haven't made the playoffs in 20 or so seasons. So Kevin, I think his name's Matthew. I don't know, whatever. But he is no longer with the Mariners. Good move. Good move on him to resign. Otherwise, the clubhouse vibes and the team in general, it was just going to be very bad relationship.
Yeah, there's no way you want to play for that. There's no way. The morale's down the drain at that point. If I'm on the team, I'm requesting a trade. He was a clown. He was a clown for what he said. And the point and the thing about that is he's felt that way for a long time, obviously, and he just got caught. So it's definitely good that happened.
Yeah. So next week, hoping we have more spring training talk. I think there's still a couple free agents that could sign. Not super major. All the big ones have signed. But who knows? Maybe we see a couple. Like, there's been some bullpen guys being signed. Interesting guy that got signed by the Giants this week. Scott Kazmir, back in baseball. That's like a familiar name. He was with the Royals for a bit. Started off with the Rays. He hasn't pitched since 2016, and he's throwing 92 to 93. Oof. He could come back, earn a decent amount of money as a lefty reliever. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
rooting for him with the Giants. Also, Shohei Ohtani. We might have talked about this on the podcast. He was only throwing 90 or so.
Yeah.
He hit 97 today, which we
Wow.
talked about. I think we were like, it's his first bullpen. Like, why is it
Mm-hmm.
gonna matter? Like, let's just wait a little bit. So he's hit 97 again. Shohei, man, please.
That's your guy.
Yeah, I picked him to win MVP last year or something like that. So I hope he pitches well. It's so amazing watching him play because you don't see two-way players too often, and a guy that can excel at both, man, you want to talk about that in your lifetime. That would be something you'd pass down to your kids and grandkids of someone that you saw. So
Yeah, two-way player. That was your MVP. That was last season, right?
yeah,
That was your guy.
because I
I
thought in the
mean,
shortened season you could pitch and win a few games and hit like a couple home runs and stuff and MVP.
yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see this year. He's healthy. He's back. Throwing 97, man. That's incredible.
Yeah. And with that, we are going to move over to the NFL. We missed out on some big news last week. Carson Wentz, he got traded to the Colts. And
Yep.
it's funny. I'm kind of one of these people in this situation as well. Everyone just hated on Carson Wentz. And now that he's been traded to the Colts, everyone's like, oh man, Carson Wentz, he's a beast again. The narrative's changed very quickly. He got
Was
traded
he ever bad?
last year. Last year was
Last year
definitely
he
a
was
down
bad,
year.
but he was sacked like 50 times.
They didn't have a good O-line. They did not have a good O-line. Also, it was just a bad fit with him in the system.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a bad place for him in general towards the end. So going to the Colts, I'm kind of one of the. If you went to the Bears, I would have been like, this is terrible. Like the Bears didn't need to give up stuff for Wentz. I don't feel like Wentz would have done great in Chicago. Colts, on the other hand, it's already a team to win. They have a
Yeah.
great offensive plan. They have a good O-line, even with Costanzo, Anthony C. He retired. Great
Mm-hmm.
left tackle, I believe. But they have a good O-line. They have a great defense. I think their coaches are pretty good. He's going to do great there. Not because he's a great overall talent, but because he's good enough to fit in that system.
It's the system. It's
Yeah.
the system for sure. Yeah. They have a good quarterbacks coach. He obviously has excelled in the league, minus last year. Last year was a bad year, and maybe he doesn't turn it around. We don't know, obviously. I personally think the Bears were better off not trading for him, especially for what they were trying to bait the Bears to trade. What it was a second and a third round pick that the Colts offered up for Wentz, I believe, which
Yeah.
wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't a
Third
whole lot.
round this year and a second round next year. But if Wentz plays 70% of the snaps and the Colts make the playoffs, it turns into a first round next year.
But it's worth it at that point because then, I mean, they made the playoffs. I mean, how many quarterbacks are the Colts going to be able to get out of this draft, considering how they finished last year? They were a playoff team. I highly doubt that they were going to be able to even move up and get anybody. So I think Carson Wentz, he's not old. He's in his prime, we think. And I think it was great. It's a great system. Phillip Rivers did pretty well with it. They have a great run game. They have some talented receivers. It could be a little bit better. And their defense, they have a great defense and they proved it. So like you said, it's a great system. If Wentz fails in this system, then he's probably not meant to be a starter.
Yeah.
Just manage the game. That's it. Just manage the game.
Yep. All he has to do, he's proven that he can do that. And the Colts decided to go with Wentz.
And so now on the other end, we have the Eagles, where it seems like Jalen Hurts is the starter. What's your thoughts? I like Jalen Hurts. He has a pretty damn good arm, and obviously he's mobile. He's good on his feet.
Yeah, he's
You,
shown that he can play and win games with that
hmm
Eagles team he had. I did hear rumors though that that the Eagles could draft another quarterback though. You draft at the number 6 spot.
hmm
I feel like they should go wide receiver. They could also sign a veteran quarterback competition if so, but I don't know. I feel like this next year or this draft, even though the quarterback class is so stacked, I just don't feel like it's worth it wasting a first round pick on a quarterback. Maybe if one's there in like the second round, go ahead. But definitely not a first round. I think they're
I
going
agree.
wide. I think they're going wide receiver. They're in need of wide receivers. They have been for the past couple of years. And they released Deshaun Jackson. They've released Alshon Jeffrey. They don't have many guys left. So number 6, they're gonna try. There's this wide receivers class is stacked as well.
hmm
Would work
hmm
out well with Hurts in that sense.
Yeah, and I mean, another thing too, like there's a lot of free agents out there. We just don't know who's going to get the tag yet. I think the rumor is Dak Prescott's getting the tag. They're going to pay him this year. Whether or not he sits out, we don't know because guys want to sit out with the franchise tag, which I don't blame them. You're risking your career playing football for a 1-year deal. Um, they definitely need a receiver more than anything. They were okay. They had some guys like Fulgham or Fulgham, whatever his name is. He stepped up. He had a couple good games. They've had some other talented players. Tight ends, they're good. Goddard, I think is still with the team. I don't think he's a free agent this year. He was good. Obviously, they've had Ertz, which I think is done as an
Yeah.
Eagle. So they do have some talent on the offense. Their running game's fine. I don't think they have to worry too much on the running side, but they need some talented receivers. I don't care who you are, what system you're in, you need at least one good receiver. Obviously, Alshon's gone. He hasn't been good in years. He's always injury prone. Deshaun Jackson, we thought was maybe going to blow up this past season, even though he's a little bit older. Never really did. The whole team kind of just failed as it is. Maybe they go O-line. Maybe they draft O-line and then get a receiver. You can always get a good receiver late, second, third, fourth round.
Yeah.
So their defense isn't bad. Their defense isn't far off. They actually they've had some bad games, but they're not far off. They're a couple pieces. So
Mm-hmm. When does free agency start? I'm gonna look that up right now. NFL free agency. So NFL free agency starts March 15th. We are a couple weeks away. Oh man, I am super excited for that. Another guy I could see getting the franchise tag, probably Allen Robinson. I could
yeah,
definitely see the Bears doing that.
I think that's who is going to get the franchise tag. I think Allen Robinson for sure. There's no reason they shouldn't give him the franchise tag, and he should just take it. He should just take the franchise because they have to pay him. It's like the average of the top whatever amount of highest paid receivers at that position. So he should take it. I don't see him really getting hurt. He does deserve a contract. Obviously, he deserves a high paid contract for 3-4 years at least. If he gets franchise tagged, I think he should take it, even though I still think they should pay him. But that if they don't give him the franchise tag, that could be a landing spot maybe for the Eagles. Maybe they don't draft a receiver. Maybe they do draft a guard or a tackle and they go grab Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson is an asset anywhere. He can get signed by any team and be the number one, besides a couple of teams, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we can talk about as it gets closer to free agency. We're going to start to see more franchise tags. Aaron Jones on the Packers probably going to get franchised.
You think so
Maybe.
with the running backs?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what's going to happen yet. I love AJ Dillon. I love Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams has been in the league for a few years now. He runs hard. AJ Dillon, obviously, we saw a couple of games where he broke out, especially in the playoffs. Um, I just don't know where they're going to use that tag. I really don't know. Apparently, there's all pro center. Lindsley is supposed to be gone, apparently. I don't know what the status is on that, if it's just media causing a stir with Green Bay. And obviously, they're not drafting, pretty low or high, if you will. They're going to be a late round draft pick. So I don't see why they wouldn't give Aaron Jones the franchise tag. I don't think they should sign him to a deal because running backs, as we've talked about, are a dime a dozen. You can find a good running back, a decent running back that fits the right system, and then you call it a day. But yeah, I really don't know who else is going to get that franchise tag in Green Bay. And I mean, for sure, I'm expecting Allen Robinson and Dak Prescott. Those are the two I can for sure
Yeah.
call.
Yeah, I could see that. I could also see Aaron Jones not getting it, though, because it's expected that the NFL cap, how does this even happen? Like, I get there's a pandemic and stuff, but the cap is supposed to go down. Yeah, it's supposed to go down a little bit. So maybe the Packers don't use a franchise tag because they don't want that money. Like, it's still like, yeah, you could franchise tag anyone and keep them, but at the same time, it's still money you have to pay for the player.
Yeah, for all that money for the 1 year. Yep.
Yeah, so I don't really see them doing it for a running back when they have a couple. And especially Dylan, who's kind of like a mini Aaron Jones in a sense, a younger one. He's the bruiser, so maybe. We'll find out over the next couple weeks. We'll keep you guys updated on the franchise tag stuff. NFL, that's pretty much it. Free agency, couple weeks. Time to move to the NBA.
Yes.
The All-Stars got announced, including the benches. And man, there was a couple stir-ups. I'll start off with a lot of people thinking Trae Young should have been an All-Star. And I got a good point. I got a good point on why he didn't end up making it. So last year, Trae Young was a starter. He was a starter by large. He made it easily. This year, though, he wasn't. He didn't make it. And the reason why people were saying that he didn't make it this year, even though he's averaging just under 30 points and he had
like
quite
9
a few
assists.
Yeah. The reserves are coach based. It's not fan voting. It's not player voting as well. Coach based. And a lot of coaches don't like the way Trae Young plays the game, including one of his favorite players, Steve Nash, said that's not basketball. That's not how you play. Because Trae Young, he's very good at what he does. He knows the rules and knows how to execute them. Kind of like James Harden. James Harden gets to the line a bunch. He was hated on it for years. Trae Young, he knows exactly what to do. He's so quick, so agile. He beats his man. He stops, and due to the momentum from behind, he just puts up a shot, and he's on the line. He knows how to play the game in that sense. So, huge snub in that part.
Who was the biggest snub to you out of this class? And we can say it. Technically, I'm going to just say it right now. I think one of the biggest snubs. Oh man, Devin Booker is in technically due to Anthony Davis being out with an injury, so he's in because of that. But to me, is a snub. He's a snub. I think he is having a good year on a team that's competing. Statistically, he's doing what he normally does. He scores the ball. I think he should have been an all-star because this is his first, if I'm not mistaken.
Nope, second.
Second all-star? Okay.
He got voted in last year as well because of injury.
But he's not a part of the actual, he wasn't the original reserve. So, and I know that a lot of it's fan-based and he's in the West. The West is always the stacked conference. So, obviously they have LeBron and you have Paul George and Kawhi and Luka and all these other guys. So I get it. But I mean, I'm looking at the reserves right now. Just in the West alone, obviously Devin Booker's in there. Chris Paul, he's playing good this year. He's playing good for his age. I don't know. There's other players that didn't make it that I feel like maybe Devin Booker should have been not a snub, and maybe Chris Paul would have been a better snub. I don't know.
Yeah. Mike Conley's been having a good season. 16. I don't know why I'm seeing him on the snub list, but he was mentioned a ton. Domantas Sabonis.
Sabonis
Oh
was a
man,
snub.
that is
Yeah.
a big one. Big guy for the Pacers. 21 and a half, 11.6 rebounds, and 5.7 assists, with a steal per game and almost a block per game. Yeah, he's definitely one that should have probably been on the reserves. He got snubbed because Julius Randle, Tatum, and Vucevic made it over him.
Yeah. I mean, they're all having good years. They're all having great years. Vucevic is an awesome center. I mean, if anybody plays FanDuel, you'll know you pick him every time because of his value.
And
One of the guys that's on that snub list is I think Ja Morant's on the snub list. If I'm not mistaken, I saw that somewhere. And I just feel like he's not it yet. He's great, he's explosive, but he hasn't played up to that all-star caliber like Zion has. Zion's an all-star by far. I hate to break the news to people. People I've argued with that Ja Morant was the rookie of the year over Zion, as he should have been. I argued for Zion in the limited time that he played. That, I mean, he clearly is impacting the game more than what Ja Morant is. Not saying Ja Morant doesn't bring it 100% every night, that he isn't a game changer, but Zion, with him being the all-star, is the right pick. Ja Morant is not a snub from the all-star game. So let's get that off the plate right away before we continue that, because there are other players definitely that are on that list. De'Aaron Fox arguably could be an all-star. He's having a pretty damn good year. Brandon Ingram's good. There's a lot of guys on this list. Domantas Sabonis probably, to me, is the biggest snub, hands down, on a team
yeah,
that's fourth in the East.
yeah, and like the all-stars are stacked. There's not really a guy you could select and be like, yeah, I guess he doesn't deserve to be on there. Like, it's like, this guy deserves to be an all-star, but who do you take off? They're
Yeah,
just
who
like,
do you take off?
There just like isn't someone there. It's great to see James Harden make the All-Star team in the East.
I know, I was thinking that too.
After being traded. Kyrie
Yeah,
didn't make it, but I
yeah,
guess that's
that's. I
fine.
mean, and the thing is, he's another one. He's having a good year. Yeah, the reserves are stacked, and we got to give a huge shout out to our boy, his Zach Levine, making the All-Star game finally. He's participated in all-star activities like the dunk contest. He's been in, I believe, 2. He is excellent at what he does, and the last couple of years, he's turned it up. He is, I don't want to say necessarily putting Chicago on the map, but his efficiency is nuts, and he's well deserved. And if he continues to keep doing what he's doing for the next couple of years, he'll be a starter soon.
Yeah, he's making the Bulls fun to watch this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not empty scoring. Like in previous years with the Bulls, it was just like he'd put up 30 a game, but they would also lose by like 20. Like he would just get the points because he was the main guy. But he's putting up like a meaningful. He has 35 tonight. 35 on 14 of 21 shooting, 5 of 8 from 3, hit 2 free throws. Kind of surprised he only has 2 free throws, but 35 points. He just goes in every single night. The Bulls are about to get another W. They're up. They did. It's official now. They got the dub for tonight. And a big reason is due to Zach Levine. He was -4 on the night as a whole, but they're going up against a pretty decent. I'm not going to say decent. I just don't know why the Timberwolves are so bad with their record, but I can't see them as like a bad team. But they did go up against the Timberwolves. They were pretty solid, starting 5. Okay.
Karl Anthony Towns has been out quite a bit, and then
Russell's out too.
Russell's out too. Yeah. Also, Kyrie Irving is in the All-Star game. He
He's
just
a
wasn't.
starter.
Yeah, he's a starter. He's not part of the reserve. So just to clear that. But I mean, if we look at the starters for each, and we don't know what the teams are going to be because I believe they're still doing the typical draft.
Yep.
Kevin Durant's captain for one team, LeBron's captain for the other. But if we look at the West, we have Luka, Steph Curry, LeBron, Nikola Jokic, Kawhi Leonard, and obviously out of the East, Kyrie, Bradley Beal, much well-deserved, Kevin Durant, Giannis, and Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, obviously one of the front runners for MVP, next to Kevin Durant and Giannis. So I'm excited. I just don't know if we'll ever get a repeat of what we saw last year for last year's All-Star game.
They're doing the 24 points for the fourth quarter this year, but I agree with you. I don't think we will.
It's just not, it's not going to be as obviously with everything that happened with the passing of Kobe and everybody that was on that helicopter, obviously. It's like there was this, everybody stepped it up. There's this sense of pride where they were playing basketball. They were playing basketball. It got competitive going into the fourth. Or did they do 2 halves last year? No, it was 4 quarters. It was 4 quarters.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter, it's the winning score is 24 points from whoever is the highest score.
Yeah. Yep.
And Giannis's team blew the lead last year.
Yeah, and it was an awesome, one of the best, hands down, probably the best All-Star game I've ever watched. It didn't mean anything except for obviously the circumstances, and when you have the best of the best going at each other, and I like the idea of guys being able to draft the team versus East versus West, because the West has always been the dominant conference. It always has been and always will be. Maybe not always will be, but I mean, if I had a bet on it, so I like the fact that you have Kevin Durant already up against LeBron. Obviously, it's East versus West in that situation, but now you might get Kevin Durant and
Kyrie is definitely.
You think he's gonna stick with
KD,
Durant?
You have to, yeah. But it could be like LeBron. It could be LeBron, Luka, Giannis, and like Kawhi Leonard against like Steph Curry, Durant, Irving, Jokic, and Beal.
Yeah. Either way you formulate it, it doesn't even matter. Now, are they doing the reserves? Are they being drafted as well, I believe?
Yeah, they draft the starters first and then the reserves after. It'd be kind of fun. It'd be hilarious if they just mixed everyone in one pool, because you would see some guys get drafted before the starters. But yeah, they do the starters first.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Obviously, they couldn't do that because then they can end up with like 6 starters. So they would just say you can't pick a starter anymore. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, hopefully we get something. I don't know. I mean, obviously these guys are being forced to play. Some have, stressed the fact that they really didn't care for it with, the pandemic and everything happening. So that's a whole different topic. Obviously we hit on before. Dunk contest. I don't know. Do they mention? I know that they want to do a skills competition as well.
They want to do everything during the game. There's not going to be an all-star weekend, but they're going to do stuff like you mentioned in a previous episode where they're going to do stuff before the game and then at halftime. The dunk contest would take place at halftime.
I feel like they're going to have to condense that or have a longer halftime. Halftime's usually 15, 20 minutes if we're lucky. So obviously they'll make it longer. So I guess that's okay. They're trying to entertain. They're trying to create entertainment. They know a lot of people are home. So I get what the NBA is doing, and obviously it's a money standpoint or a money subject there. But yeah, I mean, as far as the rosters go, I know there's some snubs, but I'm still excited. I'm very excited. I'm excited to see what Zach Levine does.
I got a fun fact that'll make you feel a little old.
Oh man,
Zion Williamson is the first player born in the 2000s to make an all-star team.
Wow.
20 years of age.
He's so young. Yeah, that's nuts. I wouldn't say I feel old, but I feel pretty old with that statement. Thanks, Healy. You just made all listeners probably feel old as well.
Yep.
But yeah, that's gonna be for the next few years. I mean, yeah, we're at that point now, 2021. But I wonder, is John Morant? John Morant's got to be a 2000s baby.
He is. So John Morant, he was born in 99, August 10th of 99. So he isn't.
Really? And then Luka Doncic? I thought Luka's pretty young too. Oh, he was born in 99 as well. Wow. That's interesting. That's very interesting. So there's some references that he's on social media and he doesn't get. He doesn't understand some references and that's kind of funny. Wow. But anyways, other NBA news. Other NBA news. So that's the All-Star game. We got the snubs. Obviously that's coming up in a couple of weeks, and we'll see eventually who's going to be performing in the competitions for the All-Star. But back to the news. We have the Brooklyn Nets, who are a half game out of the first seed, and they've been playing many games so far without Durant due to injury, and they might continue to play games without him as he might not return until All-Star break, which will be in a couple of weeks. They're on a 7-game win streak, 7-3 in the last 10. Kyrie and James Harden have been balling out. The whole team's been playing pretty damn well without Durant. We see where they've beat the Clippers, they beat the Lakers, they're beating some of these other good teams out there. They blew out Golden State. And I mean, granted, yes, James Harden and Kyrie are playing a lot of minutes. They kind of have to. But they've been going off, and DeAndre Jordan, I think maybe missed a couple of games, but they're fun to watch. And seeing them do this without Durant really shows how dangerous this team will be in the playoffs in any 7-game series.
Yeah, watch them play the other day. I watched them play last night against the Kings. It's just, they play with so much energy right now. They're all on page with each other. They're number one in points per game at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all just having a good time. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, they just have smiles on their face at most times. And they're all talking to each other. They're using the communication with that small lineup they have. DeAndre Jordan a little bit taller, but he's their only big man. And it's so fun. At the beginning of the year, the Nets were my one team to watch. Deservingly so because they have the big three right now. At the time they didn't, but now they do.
Yeah, they have the big two. DeAndre Jordan. They have pieces that are filling in just right.
Joe Harris.
Joe Harris has had a couple of good games, great shooting performances. And let's not forget Jeff Green coming off the bench. He's stepped in as a starter while Durant was gone for a few games, if not all games. And he's had some big games too. That's one of my go-tos right now while Durant's out. If you want a cheap value on FanDuel, grab Jeff Green. But yeah, definitely an exciting team to watch and to continue to watch. I mean, I know Durant's out, but I mean, you're literally getting the best of Kyrie, who on the season is averaging 27.4 points a game, 6 assists. He's shooting over 51%, almost 41% from threes, 90% from the line. Player efficiency is 24.2, which is pretty damn good. And then you go to James Harden, who, sure, he's not averaging 35 points a game, but that was to be expected. He's averaging over 11 assists a game. He's shooting almost 40% from three, almost 90% from the line. His player efficiency is 24.7, which is a little bit better than Kyrie Irving. But he's up there. He's one of the best player efficiency ratings in the game right now, behind just a few. And in that East, we don't know who is the best, who's going to come out as the number one, because you never know what you're going to get from Boston if they're going to go on a run. You never know what you're going to get on Milwaukee, whose defense is great, and offensively they have great games. We just don't know yet. But I'm willing to bet that the Nets, being a half game back, will end up the number one seed. And I'm not going to say that they're going to walk into the finals, but with a healthy big three, I don't see any games going to game 7. Maybe a game 6 in a series later on, but I really don't see it. I don't see Philadelphia, as good as they are, really giving them troubles. Boston, I don't see them giving them troubles. Who else is up there? Miami, Indianapolis.
I think Joel Embiid would give them trouble.
Joel Embiid is going to make the games close, and Ben Simmons is going to be the X factor. There was a game, Ben Simmons dropped 40 points in a game, not like last week, which was nuts because we don't think of Ben Simmons as being, he's good offensively, he's good at facilitating, he's good at driving the lane, but never a 40-point game good. So that was interesting to see as well. So if he continues to step it up and Tobias Harris continues to step it up, that's the one series where I can see it going 6 games.
Yeah, and it's fun watching this Nets team as we thought with like the trade with James Harden. It was like, who's going to handle the ball? Who's going to be like, they all need the ball for the most part to do work.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. They all work well without it. They all share it well. They're playing team basketball.
Yep. And this was the question going into the season when James Harden got traded, or during the trade, after he got traded, who is going to play selflessly and who is going to be the selfish one? Because having those three, we've seen it happen in other leagues, in the NBA, when there's so many big, like a 3 big-headed monster of a team. Well, there becomes a problem. Somebody ruins it, right? Somebody doesn't play selflessly. But this team is playing. They all are playing their part, and they're executing so well. All 3 guys are averaging over 25 a game. And then, like I said, the other guys are filling in. You have James Harden, who practically runs the point. Obviously, he's not the point guard, but he handles the ball a lot, which is good because that's what he's used to. But he doesn't have to shoot as much because now he has Kevin Durant, who shoots efficiently, Kyrie Irving, who is shooting very efficiently. So now
Joe Harris is as well.
And Joe Harris is as well. So now it's like for Kevin Harden, for James Harden, for him to take the step back, he's not really taking a step back. He just can dumb it down. He doesn't have to shoot as many times. He doesn't have to drive as many times. He's allowed to be an efficient player because there's other guys to facilitate to, and that's why he's averaging over 11 assists a game. So I'm loving the team right now.
And when he did have to drop a bunch of points, he does. Last week he dropped, or a couple days ago, he dropped 37 against the Clippers, in which they won by 4 points. 37, and he had a big 3. He had a huge 3 late in the game. He dropped 38 last week against Phoenix, another 4-point victory. And I think that was the one where he had like a massive 3 late in the game.
Yeah.
It was definitely against Phoenix, where he had just a great 3 late in the game. He dropped 38 there, 29 while dropping 14 assists. Yeah, it's just so fun. A team that's not doing so great and might not be as fun to watch at the moment, the Lakers. They've dropped 3 in a row. I thought they dropped more recently, but could be wrong with that. But they are definitely they aren't doing so hot without AD. They also don't have Schroeder, so that is also hurting.
They're hurt. They're definitely hurt. They'll be okay. They dropped the last 10 games. They're 6-4.
4 or 5.
Okay, so they dropped 4 or 5. Okay. So, I mean, it's showing. And LeBron, it's not LeBron, obviously. LeBron's still balling out. The dude at his age, he's still killing it. He's still killing it. We don't know what the time frame is on Anthony Davis. It's not a serious injury. He's not going to be out the whole year. If anything, we might not see him until the second half of the season, considering they're 12 games over 500. They're a half game out of the second seed. They don't need to be a first-seeded team to make a splash in the playoffs. We know this. As a matter of fact, if they end up as a 3rd or 4th seed, they're going to walk away. First round, they're going to play either possibly the Blazers. They could play the Spurs, teams that they should be able to dominate against. No question about it. And then the second round, obviously, they may end up playing the Clippers or the Jazz, depending on how that works out. But if I'm the Lakers, I'm not going to rush Anthony Davis back. Obviously, there was not a whole lot of time in between last season and this season. I'm surprised that LeBron hasn't really sat any games, but also at the same time, it's like, it's LeBron. He's aging like fine wine. But I wouldn't be surprised if down towards the final stretch, we see LeBron sit a couple of games, get a couple of extra days rest. Who cares if we lose? They're going to the playoffs. We don't really know the status of Anthony Davis. We don't know. I feel like he's hurt every year. He's hurt every year. He never completes a full season. And it's not to say that he's sitting on purpose. Maybe he is a little sore. Maybe he is hurt, but it's not a serious injury. And I expect by it's going to be like Kevin Durant, like right around All-Star break, right after All-Star break.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what the Lakers can do. LeBron, yeah, not the issue. He dropped like 31, 8, and 13 the other day in a loss. So definitely not on him. But with these teams are like starting to release some players. DeMarcus Cousins, he's available. The Rockets guaranteed his contract and then released him. Brooklyn also did that. Brooklyn released Roberson. Who was the other guy? Roberson. Man, they just dropped 3 people. Well,
yeah, they ended up dropping.
Shumpert is another one.
Oh, Iman Shumpert, yes.
Yeah, but and Noah Vonleh, they are gonna keep them. The reason why they technically released them is there's a deadline for contracts. If you're on the team by the certain date, you guarantee your contract the remainder of the year. What they're gonna do with Roberson, Vonleh, and Shumpert though is they're just gonna keep renewing their 10 days unless they need to like drop them at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So they technically aren't releasing them. The Rockets, though, they released DeMarcus Cousins. So he could possibly go back to the Lakers. Marcus Gasol's not really doing too hot this year. He could also go to the Celtics. They have Tristan Thompson, who's not too great.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking Nets, but they have James Harden, unless they squash their beef. I don't know.
Might be worth it for a title.
But yeah, DeMarcus Cousins is available. I'm ready for buyout season. we talked about this. We talk about this quite a bit. The buyout season, in which guys just get bought out, sign with contenders. So we'll see what other guys get released from these teams that aren't doing so great. The final team we wanted to talk about, though, the Washington Wizards. They're still the 13th seed in the East. They lost yesterday, or like their last game. But before that, they won 5 in a row.
Yeah.
Bradley Beal was playing great. Russell Westbrook was playing great. They came back against the Lakers, was it? Yeah, it was the Lakers. They came back against the Lakers and beat them. So
yeah,
great win.
Yeah, Russ has been playing pretty well. I have to give it to him. Not that he was playing bad at any point, just compared to what we are used to with Russ. They're not a bad team. They have Rui Hachimura, obviously, Bradley Beal, who is arguably the best player in the East scoring wise. You add Russell Westbrook to the mix. They have other players. I think where they're really hurting is a big man. They need a good center. I think they play like Rolo, like Robin Lopez, and some random like Burton, some other guys that just aren't it. But surprisingly, yes, they won 5 in a row. Bradley Beal, who seems to be committed to the Wizards, that's a good sign. That's a sign where it's like, okay, so we know how to win games. We may not contend this year, but this offseason has to be about going after one of the best free agents to pair up with Beal. If they keep Westbrook, maybe they form a big 3. I feel like they are one piece away from being at least a 500 team. They're at one solid center away, not an all-star, just a good big man who can score inside and rebound and defend from being obviously Thomas Bryant's hurt. Thomas Bryant's out for the year, which was a big, big loss for them because last year during that bubble, he was great. So we'll see what they end up doing. But for Bradley Beal, I'm kind of happy for him. I'm happy for him after saying, you know what, he could be like any other player, and obviously he shows frustration. get off of him. Get off his jock, right? He is allowed to be frustrated. They're losing. That is what you want from somebody, to express that he's mad that even though we're dead last, that we continue to lose, because losing's not fun. You want a guy who's as good as he is to say, I'm committed to this team and I hate losing. That's good. He performs day in, day out. Now that they're starting to win, you're going to build his morale up. And when you build his morale up, the rest of the team's going to be happy. It's a sense of accomplishment. It's an achievement. They're like, okay, well, I'm a part of this team. I'm helping him win. He's one of the best players in the game right now. So that's good for me. I'm helping contribute that. Let's do it again. Let's go out there and do it again. Granted, are they going to continue to win the way they are? Maybe not, but it's the East, so you never know. You never know. So I'd say this is good that they're doing this. It looks good from the standpoint of Bradley Beal, from Russ, Westbrook too. You got to think he's still somebody in the league. So I think it's good that they're winning. If they can maintain and be close to a 500 team by the end of the season, that for me as a fan who watches and wants good things for this team, that tells me that they maybe they do make a big splash. Maybe they do go after somebody in free agency. I don't know who's going to want to go there, but it's about how you finish, not how you start. So,
Yep. So that's gonna do it for this week's episode of the Standing Room Only podcast. As always, follow us on social media at SROnlyPod. You can follow our social media pages. Mine is at the Healy6 on Twitter and Instagram.
I am iGoose with 4 O's, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. Hit us up, guys. We definitely like to stay interactive. We always put polls out. So make sure you guys do follow us on social media and hit that download button if you can. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube as well.
Yeah, we will see you guys next week.